I read an article today from an obscure internet news site, and what it told me was everything that I have been thinking for the last 48 hours. And it scares me to death. This is We the People. The site I'm talking about is Haaretz.com. It's only obscure to us in the US because it's an Israeli website, and not one which is commonly referred to on US social media. I'll take the time to credit the writer. His name is Bradley Burston, and I will try to remember to put the link to the site below. What struck me was the point that he made from the very beginning. Allow me to quote directly from the article. It's an inconceivably scary thought that the Trump administration is simply winging it, breakneck, disrupting, detonating, and taking America apart, all of it without a plan. But there's something even scarier, and that is that there is, in fact, a plan. A plan which would dramatically concentrate and expand Donald Trump's power, inflame and immobilize his base, whip up and leverage racism, Islamophobia, and at a later stage possibly, anti-Semitism, in order to slow all shortcomings into scapegoats. He needs a war. He needs a war to reconcile the contradictions of a populist and extravagantly self-contradictory election campaign, in which he vowed to rebuild the military to historic levels while also slashing government spending. He needs the kind of war that would make good on his vows to revive the heavy industrial manufacturing base and the mining of his beautiful coal. A war would free him to greenlight the mammoth corporate monopoly and to provide the ultimate pretext, the emergency imperative for abrogating on a massive scale the most basic of constitutional rights and freedoms, even gun ownership. End quote. Now, for those of you who don't have a dictionary available, the word abrogate is to end, to do away with individual freedoms, including gun ownership. Back to the article. A war would make it clear that it's not mass casualty shootings by a loner white male that makes America unsafe. It is rather the specter of the swarthy Muslim we have never met, which would keep us up at night. Even if that Muslim is in actual a saint among physicians or a decorated former brother of arms and U.S. troops overseas. Donald Trump needs a war, but not just any war. He needs the right, global, non-Christian, all-powerful, all-frightening, non-white, non-negotiable enemy. He needs a holy war. End quote. Now, the reason this disturbs me is Trump's early saber rattling. Here we are, less than 15 days into the administration, and he's been saber rattling and mouthing off to Iran, a country who's just looking for an excuse to get out of the nuclear treaty that they signed with Obama. He's flapping about how he'd respond decisively against North Korean nuclear actions. But yet he says nothing about what actions. Would a nuclear test be the action he would respond decisively against? And exactly what is decisively? The man is already banging the drum for war, and his puppet master Steve Bannon is foaming at the mouth for Islamic blood. Bannon has droned on and on about the evil Muslim people, and unlike some war-happy politicians, Bannon doesn't bother with any idea that there is a good Muslim anywhere. Make no mistake about it, the Muslim ban is a Steve Bannon initiative. To establish that, let's go back to the article. Burston writes, he needs a doomsday weapon he can rely on. As it happens, he already has one, Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon, the ideologue, the impresario, scorcher of Republican earth, has been talking holy war for years. In a speech to a Christian conference held at the Vatican in the summer of 2014, Steve Bannon declared that we are at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict, of which, if the people in this room, the people in the church, do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant to really be able to not stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that will completely eradicate everything we've been bequeathed over the last 2,000 years. We are now, I believe, at the beginning stages of a global war against Islamic fascism. End quote. Steve Bannon, 2014. National security analyst Robert Baer said Tuesday that the Bannon speech sounded like preaching for the first modern crusade. Make no mistake about it. War galvanizes the right, and it pacifies the left. Trump's war would give him more power than Bush ever asked for, and more power than Obama ever wielded. In a state of war, Trump, through his abrogation of rights, would be able to convince the Islamophobes on the Hill to back him and pass any draconian laws which would outlaw dissent, outlaw protest, public displays of disorder, mute free speech, block the press, and if needed, put troops on the streets to quell anything he deemed as unpatriotic. I don't tell you this simply to scare you. I tell you this to activate you, to motivate you, to get you to get off your fat asses and do something. Donald Trump is an enigma within a lunatic. He doesn't even comprehend that the screws are on him and they're being turned by other people. Steve Bannon is an Islamophobic, Nazi, fascist, white supremacist who is foaming at the mouth to kill as many Muslims as he can. And now he sits on the National Security Council. That is just absolutely foul to consider. He now has the information he needs to motivate his puppet. Not to mention that Donald Trump has filled his cabinet with religious fanatics. Betsy DeVos, Flynn, Rick Perry, Price. It's disturbing. This is the time when you need to understand the threat that we face. Never in our country's history have we faced this kind of threat. We suffered and survived a civil war. We suffered through World War I. We suffered through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the first Persian Gulf War, and even the debacle that was the second. But we've never faced a threat from within, a threat to our very liberty. And that threat has risen and now sits in the seat of power. And you may poo-poo him and think that, oh, it's okay. Somebody will stop him before he goes too far. Well, you're wrong, because there's nobody in that building that has the balls to question him. And if the last person in the room is Steve Bannon, we're doomed. So you need to stand up, get up and do something right now. Whatever it is, whatever it takes, make the effort. The time will come when you're asked what you did. Many years ago, Ben Franklin walked out of the Hall of Congress where they wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and a woman was quoted as asking Ben Franklin, "What form of government have you given us, Mr. Franklin?" And Mr. Franklin was quoted to have responded with, "A republic, if you can keep it." Well, the time is now. Can you keep this republic? Because it is on your shoulders. Please subscribe to the channel, join us on the Facebook page, and visit the blog at WTPAmerica.org. Become a patron at patreon.com/WTPAmerica. My name is Alan Garrett. And for the time being, this is We the People. Resist.